Dear participants, our next session will be renewable energy integration and smart grid. It will be taken by Professor Sukumar Misra. Professor Sukumar Misra is a faculty in the Department of Electrical Engineering, IIT Delhi, and has been its part for past 18 years. His research expertise lies in the field of power system, power quality studies, renewable energy, and smart grid. He has been working in close association with IEEE Delhi Section Executive Committee for past few years and is currently serving as an editor for the IEEE Transactions on Smart Grid, IEEE Transaction on Sustainable Energy, Current Science, and was an area editor for IET Generation, Transmission and Distribution Journal. Dear participants, due to some technical problems, he is not able to join. He will be joining soon and will start the session shortly.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
You are able to hear me clearly?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, sir, we welcome you and you.
So maybe I will.
And I have already introduced you, sir. Please, we welcome you and you can start the session now. Thank you, sir.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay, just let me try. Is it moving?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay, but I am unable to see your video on the side or something.
Our video is off, sir. Maybe that's.
No, that's fine. But can you switch on your video? Let me just see, because that becomes more lively.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yes. But this becomes. Yes. Are you able to see the slides moving?
Yes, sir. We can see.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Okay, sir.
So once you are ready, you just tell me.
Yes, sir. Participants are already here. So
give me just 2 minutes time.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I'm just taking a glass of water and coming.
Okay, sir.
Good morning, madam.
गूगल अपने वो वीडियो बना रहा था ना पिक्चर्स की, तो उसने वो पिक्चर पूरी मूवी बना दी। वो जैसे मेरे हस्बैंड ने दिखा ही मेरा जो रोना निकला और ये थी कि मैंने रोते रोते वीडियो बना दी, उसको भेज दी। मम्मी देख रही है कितना बड़े रो रही है, वो बेचारे रात को फोन आ गया, मम्मी आप बताओ मैं क्या गिफ्ट दूं यार, ये सेल लगी हुई है वो सेल लगी हुई, मैं कहा मुझे खुश करने भाई तू ही आ जा, मुझे कुछ नहीं चाहिए। तो बच्चों का तो मैडम भी परेशान कर दिया। मेरे को तो देखो 2 साल हो गए, 2 साल देखो कब आ रहा है।
Speaker.
सर आप उदास मत हो, मेरा बेटा तो 2 साल से बाहर गया हुआ है। 2 साल से कर मैं ये मैडम से ज्यादा आप परेशान और सर एक बार भी ना हम जा पाए ना वो आ पाए, और मैं तो कितनी बार आंसू बहाते रहते हैं इसी चक्कर में। सर आज मैडम ने तभी दीवार पे मार के करेंगे बहुत बड़ी नहीं सर वो होता है। सर आपका तो बॉम्बे है, मेरा तो कनाडा है, यहाँ तो पिछले 1 घंटे में आप पहुंच जा सकते हैं वहां तो। मेरा तो देखो 2 साल से जाना ही है, अब जाके कोवैक्सीन अप्रूव हुई है, 30 नवंबर से क्या देखना है।
तो आप जा रहे हो?
मैं नहीं, शायद हस्बैंड जा रहे हैं
ये कमिंग
दिसंबर। मैं इसलिए नहीं जा रही क्योंकि टिकट्स बहुत महंगी हैं सर अभी तो।
ये दिसंबर के टाइम ठीक है मैडम।
एक उसके बाद एडजस्ट हो जाएगा, बहुत सारी चीजें।
इसको कहाँ रखें? Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, it will be good if somebody at least one video is switch on so that I can know that the response is going on.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Sorry?
We can hear you, sir.
Yeah. So what I am saying, coordinator, somebody can just switch on your video. One
Yes,
video,
sir.
let it be switch on.
Okay, sir.
Great, very nice. So good morning to all of you, and maybe in different time zone, if somebody are there, maybe good afternoon and good evening. Today, we'll be discussing about renewable energy integration and smart grid as a whole. Now coming to the renewable energy and the energy production as a whole, if we take as an example of Indian subcontinent to start with, we can see here, though this is a little bit old data, but still you can see the majority is from coal. Then next comes hydro, then nuclear. Very small amount is diesel generator. We have some island where diesel generator are there. There are few gas power station, and also we have good amount of renewable energy penetration into our power sector. Now, the renewable energy per se is divided into different category according to our definition of the country, and it depends on country to country as well. And we have good amount of wind and solar penetration. Don't go by the number as a sacrosanct number. It is little bit old, that is 2019 one is there. But what I want to emphasize here is that from among the renewable energy, if you see, the wind and solar plays vital role, and they play the game in the renewable energy sector. Though small hydro, and in some of the aspect, the hydro energy is also considered as the non-conventional or renewable based energy in some of the scenario, but it depends on the definition. So coming to the Indian philosophy and Indian subcontinent as a whole, if you see, the solar photovoltaic will take a large chunk of this power generation in the renewable energy sector, because good amount of sun ray and radiation as well as irradiance we get from the solar energy. Now, that is probably true for many African countries as well, where we can say that this solar energy can be utilized in a proper way so that we can get electrical energy out of it. Now, the investment for this renewable energy sector and power sector as a whole can be a combination of state government, central government, or federal government, and private player also. Private players are encouraged because they, when comes into the market, the market becomes more competitive, and the advantage of competitiveness gives the lower and lower tariff and good power supply. So based on this, if we conclude that we will go for the photovoltaic as the renewable energy generating source, we can go ahead and see how they can contribute to the renewable energy scenario as a whole. Now, coming to the renewable energy scenario in the Indian context, again, you can see here that the renewable energy contribution in this specific domain is the renewable energy sources here. You can see each given in the green one, and the light yellow one is basically the total energy or total installed capacity of the total grid. And you can see here that the penetration is still not very high. And in this scenario, it is much easier to regulate them. However, you can see here that in the southern region of the India as a whole, if you see, has a good amount of solar penetration, and that becomes a little bit challenging in handling the solar, the penetration into that area. Hence, we need to go for smart grid philosophy. Now, among these renewable energy, what we have seen in the previous slide, the distribution of solar and wind, if you see, is given here. And you can see again in the southern region, the wind and solar are more or less compete with each other, and they are more or less at the same magnitude. However, at other, you can see here that the northern region, you can see the solar is more as against wind, and in the western region, wind is more as against solar. However, there is almost no penetration in the eastern region and northeast region. That is a challenge, and the focus is now in the northeast region to go for small hydro at least, and it has a lot of potential in the northeast region. Now, coming to the again distribution according to different year, you can see here that the solar, wind, and hydro, and to some extent the biogas are given here, and the number is going on increasing day by day. Generally, when we look to the solar photovoltaic installation, it generally comes to our mind that how much land area it can consume for producing certain amount of power. Now, as an example, it is just a small mathematical calculation I have given. if you see that if you want to have a 1 megawatt power plant set up, you go for either a crystalline technology or a thin film technology. Based on that, either 4 to 5 acres for crystalline and 6 to 7 acres for thin film technology may be required. So this specific thing is only a benchmarking sort of thing and may vary based on technology and efficiency of the panels. Now considering a panel of approximately 10% efficiency, though it is much more in reality, but as a safe value with factor of safety taken into consideration, if I take it to be around 10%, then 1 kilowatt rooftop solar system requires approximately 12 square meter of area, which converts to 130 square feet of flat shadow-free area. And the facing of this installation will depend on the country geographical location in the global plane. And based on the longitude and latitude, this will be decided. Based on that, if we calculate for producing 250 gigawatt of power, the land requirement is very small and it is just 3,000 square kilometer, which is for a country like India, it is very, very small in the context of the land area. Even our rooftop is more than sufficient to produce such magnitude of solar power. As a result, we encourage rooftop solar installation, and Government of India is giving lot of incentive, and many schemes are being floated for going for this rooftop solar photovoltaic installations. However, it can be remembered that the electricity energy that is being produced, the unit of energy that is being produced is not 24/7, because in the evening time, you may not be able to get the electricity from the solar panel. Therefore, as a rough estimate, it can be 4 units per day for a country, sunny country like India. As a result, if we go for this, then from the energy point of view, the total land requirement will be approximately 5 to 6 times of this, and that is also not very high in the context of a power capacity of 250 gigawatt. Now, this energy which is being produced, because the solar photovoltaic system is intermittent and uncertain in nature. As a result, this unit of electricity need to be put into storage, and when you do a storage, it is generally our battery which is considered as the storage element in the solar photovoltaic system. But when you try to do this storage, it requires lot of investment, and the cost effectiveness need to be properly justified. As a result, many people may not like to go for this investment. Hence, it is a deterrent for renewable energy penetration into the grid. To take care of that, initially, we may not go for a storage system, but instead we can go for a grid integrated solar photovoltaic system, where the grid integration is done, and hence the grid can act as a storage as well as a source. Basically, the grid can accept any amount of power being produced from the solar installations, and similarly, it can deliver power to some of the loads which may be away from the solar installation through through the grid network. So that says that to start with, initially, as long as the solar PV penetration into the grid is not very high, we can encourage the grid integration of solar photovoltaic system, and will be able to get a cheaper solution in initial stage. Later on, it may be integrated with storage to make it a independent uh, independent system or independent operator, independent system operator as well, or you can say it to be a independent source as a entity. So there could be many names given to it. So based on that, you will be able to generate 24/7 electricity from the solar and storage combining today. So we can go step by step. Initially, we can go for a grid integrated system. Once we are into the threshold point after which the grid may not be able to accept the solar photovoltaic power, in that case, you may go for storage implementation in the network. Based on this scheme or philosophy, we can now go for a division of solar photovoltaic installation, and it could be single phase or three phase. In the single phase, it is single stage or double stage, and in the single stage, it can be with energy storage or without energy storage. In double stage, similarly, it can be with energy storage and without energy storage. Besides that, you can see here that okay. Besides that, this three-phase one, you can see here, can be also divided into two categories, single stage and double stage. And this single stage is again divided into three-phase, three-wire, three-phase, four-wire, and so on. So basically, you can see here that there are two things. One is with energy storage, and another is without energy storage. So with energy storage is with a battery included in the solar photovoltaic system, and without energy storage is basically a system having without battery, but it is a grid connected operation. Based on that, when we do this grid connected mode of operation, we require the smart grid to be made so that we can handle the cruelty of the photovoltaic system to some extent when it becomes more dangerous to the grid. Now, coming to the grid integrated operation of the solar photovoltaic system, you can see here that suppose you have this red one as the actual demand of a network or of a section. Basically, you can think about that this is suppose the load curve against one DT, that is distribution transformer. And due to the solar penetration and the solar power becoming good at 2 p.m., the actual net load, that means the source and generation, say source and load, if you see here, that initially when the solar is not available, the net load is this blue one is equal to the red one, net load is equal to the actual load. But when the solar penetration happens, here, when the sun rays comes, the net load in that feeder goes on reducing. And when the peak of the solar radiation comes, it is at somewhere here. So that says that the load has reduced to a drastically low value from the point of view of the grid. And when the evening comes, it needs to have a large ramp from this power to this power. And that is what we call it duck curve. And it looks like a duck, hence the rate of rise, the slope of this curve becomes very high. And the duck curve is nothing but a graph of power production over the course of the day that shows the timing imbalance between peak demand and the renewable energy production. Now, if this renewable energy penetration goes on increasing like that, you may get a point where so you can see here that as the penetration increases, a point may come where the solar production may be higher than the load, and in that case you may get a reverse power flow. A power may go from the low voltage to the high voltage, which is not acceptable, and the grid may fail and you may enter into a blackout in the system. That's why the reverse power flow is basically a challenge, and based on reverse power flow, if it happens, we have to go for a lot of change in the protection philosophy as well. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Any query till now?
No, sir. Dear participants, if you have any queries, you can ask.
Okay. So this duck curve is now a case study where you can see here that the ramp becomes very large, and it is difficult to handle this ramp by any grid, so that you may see the issue of getting a large ramp in the system. Hello? हाँ नमस्कार, मैं आपको जस्ट कॉल बैक करता हूँ, मैं एक लेक्चर में हूँ, आपको कॉल बैक करता हूँ. So this large ramp is an issue and we need to handle it properly. Similarly, when you have solar rooftop penetration in the tail end of a feeder, you can see that there will be a voltage rise phenomenon. The voltage may be higher at certain point, and that large increase in voltage may create problem for the devices that are being used in the residence. Hence, a caution is to be made, and the voltage rise need to be handled properly. On the contrary, you can also see here that there could be fluctuation in the voltage. This is because the solar radiation is basically a intermittent and uncertain one, and hence there could be fluctuation in the voltage magnitude as well. So whether it is a rise or a fluctuation, both are detrimental for the load, and generally as a customer, we do not want that our voltage should fluctuate or our voltage should rise beyond a point so that the load will be in trouble. And also you can see in basically in literature sometimes that whenever the photovoltaic grid connected mode is basically deactivated, that means you want to run the solar photovoltaic system even there is no grid, then there becomes a big synchronization issue between the solar panel inverter and the other sources. Now here, since the grid has failed, there is no other source. Hence, a grid connected solar system will now become inactive. They cannot produce the power. Now, to handle that properly, the grid in many cases replaced by diesel generator set, because at many of installation, these diesel generator set are already available, and that can be taken advantage of, and the solar grid connected operation or grid connected inverters can be operational again. So that says that the voltage rise phenomenon and the PV-DG operation, photovoltaic and diesel generator integrated operation, is a challenge, and that needs a proper understanding of the network as well as the source and load balance. Apart from that, another point comes into the reflection that basically when the solar penetration into a feeder becomes higher and higher, there could be an increase in loss in the system as well. And this increase in loss will give rise to different types of cable, otherwise it will be heated up. So the old infrastructure of the cable need to be re-augmented with if we go for solar rooftop penetration into the grid. Okay. Any query?
Dear participants, if you have any queries till now, please ask.
Any question? No question. Okay. So this says that when we do this photovoltaic integration into the grid, then we have to be very, very careful because it may create increased loss, and this increased loss will create problem for the cable, and the cable dimension has to be changed. Hence, infrastructure revamping may be required. So, to handle the coordinated activities of this solar photovoltaic installed systems, you need a proper communication, and to know the performance of these devices, there could be some entity in the system which will basically keep the data into its repository. Therefore, so that specific thing, if we look, then a coordinated operation of these resources and correspondingly the voltage resources.
All right, here we go.
Hello? Any doubt? अरे कुछ some noise is coming. Coordinator, some noise is coming.
Yes, sir. Someone is asking something.
What, are you muting him? Yeah.
Yes, sir. I have muted him.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now you're audible.
Okay. So,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I just confirmed
You
that
are
you're
audible,
audible,
sir.
Okay. So based on this, we go for the loss philosophy, and the loss one is basically linked to the cable size, and the infrastructure need to be properly redesigned. Therefore, we need to go for a situation which is called as smart grid, and that smart grid is basically required to go for a scheme in the system so that more and more renewables can come into picture. And in that case, the microgrid can play a very vital role, and these microgrids can become independent entity, and those independent entity can supply power to the loads which are within
የመጀመሪያውንም ትለኝ ያው ነው የመጀመሪያውንም በሰጣችሁት ርዕስ እንትን ኢቫሉዌት አድርጌያለሁ አይደል? ኢቫሉዌት አድርጌያለሁ። ሶሪ
Hello, Abera, can you mute yourself?
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Okay. So there will be therefore microgrids, and these microgrids will be many, maybe in number, and these microgrids may like to have a coordinated control among them locally as well as globally. Now, because it is having renewable energy, the forecasts are very, very important, and we need to link the solar radiation and wind forecast into the power production fluctuation, and we can know exactly what is the deficiency in the smart grid environment. Similarly, without financial activity, nothing can run. Therefore, there could be market integration into this microgrid and smart grid so that we can have a proper competitive environment. So, in the smart grid, you can have distributed generation, you will be having load, you may be having energy storage, controllers, and communication. So indirectly, a communication and computer taken together, if it is used for this microgrid or for the smart grid, then we can say that this is a ideal case for smart grid. So in case of a smart grid, we can say that it is a conventional grid superimposed with communication and computing power inbuilt into it. So based on that, based on that, the smart grid can be defined. So it is a modernized grid that enables bidirectional flow of energy and use two-way communication and control capability that will lead to So a bidirectional flow of energy and two-way communication and control capability that will lead to array of new functionalities and applications. Similarly, the IEEE says that smart grid is a large system of systems where each functional domain consists of three layers: power and energy layer, communication layer, and the IT and computer. So layer 2 and 3 above are enabling infrastructure that makes existing power and energy infrastructure smarter. That does not mean that we are dumb today. We are having our operation as we need. However, this more smartness, a linguistic word smart, is having a definition for individual to individual and similarly country to country, because whatever is smart to you may not be smart to me. Similarly, whatever smart for country like India may not be smart for a country like USA. Maybe for India, I can say that the smartness means the basically the loss should reduce. There should be more and more renewable energy. The duct curve should be properly designed, and those things can be used in the smartness to make the grid more reliable and operable. Therefore, we can say that the smart grid is a necessity for the increased reliability and power quality. It improves the responsiveness and efficiency. It can improve potentially and potentially it can reduce the cost for the provider as well as the consumer. It can add intelligence into the existing system. It, it can decrease the greenhouse gas emission, and it can reduce the client side power consumption during peak side by demand side management. Now you can see here, this is a prototypic representation of smart grid. And you can see here that there are generators, and these are basically supplied to different loads. And in the load, you can have smart appliances, demand side management system, distributed the distributed generation, and there could be photovoltaic generators, and that can have a variation. And this is a isolated microgrid. So when it is isolated microgrid, then the problem of grid connectivity is more or less not required, because it is in a microgrid fashion you are operating, and in the microgrid it is more or less a self-sufficient one, unless otherwise there is a power mismatch and you want to exchange the power between the grid and the microgrid. Now in the grid you can have different entity, and the biggest culprit in the grid, or biggest, similarly, though they are they are basically the consumer or the customers, but there could be an issue with respect to the price or the tariff that they are going to present. So you can make the appliances smarter so that the appliances can be used for the purpose of smartness. Therefore, we can see here that the demand side management can be included in the philosophy by considering the metering infrastructure to be proper and smart, and so the infrastructure you can see here that can have storage, then it can process, execute special protection scheme in microsecond. It can have sensors to detect fluctuation, disturbance, and signal for areas to be isolated or islanded. Now, there will be demand side management load. That means just by shifting the huge cases. So that can lead to demand side management, and you can save money out of the demand side management. Similarly, smart appliances basically should cut themselves from the generating stations so that when your system is having more generation and load imbalance, it will manage the things to have proper operation. So an interconnected smart grid is basically a practical side of smart grid where you can go for a few MVA generating systems. So overall, the philosophy will be few MVA, and that can be considered in the perspective of smart grid. Now, for larger load, if the load value is large, it is desirable to interconnect multiple microgrid to form a larger smart grid network called power park. The interconnected smart grid network, when we interconnect them, the reliability and controllability for the power parks will increase. Now, a very simple comparison between the conventional grid and smart grid. The conventional grid has one way and this has two way. In case of conventional one, only the power flow is from the DT to the load, but here the load to the DT can also go. This is centralized, this is distributed. Are you getting to me? Any doubt?
Participants, if you have any doubt, please ask.
You should make it is interactive, otherwise, I don't know. No question in the chat box or anything?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. Okay, fine. So therefore, the conventional grid will be having centralized generation, smart grid will have distributed generation. The conventional will have few sensors, a large number of sensors are required. This is manual monitoring, this is intelligent monitoring, manual restoration. Okay. So this is basically a comparative table between the conventional grid and the smart grid, where you can see a lot of advantages has been incorporated into the smart grid phenomenon as against the conventional grid.
Sorry,
Now,
sir. I have a question, sir.
very nice. Please.
So, please, sir, then why differentiating from the conventional grid with the smart grid? And you said the conventional grid is manual restoration and smart grid is self-healing, sir. So, can you please further explain the self-healing?
Okay. See, you have imagined that there are many feeders in a distribution system, and these feeders can supply rerouting of power from one point to other point. So whenever there is a power failure, now today what we are doing, we are going for manual restoration, we are going physically and doing the work. But if you can route the power from one place to another place via different distribution feeder, then just you can connect them one by one in the path that is being required, and you'll be able to get energy at whenever your grid failure occurs. Am I clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Any other question?
Sir, there is one more question in the chat box.
Yeah.
How expensive could be to change for a conventional grid to a smart grid?
Okay. See, the cost of expenditure depends what are the features that you are putting into the smart grid. So based on that, the expenditure will be more or less and different. Therefore, it is very difficult to give a ballpoint figure that this much will be the expenditure if you migrate from conventional to smart grid. Okay. Any other?
Not yet, sir.
No other question?
No, sir.
Okay. So here, these are the advantages and disadvantages as against the conventional one to the smart grid one. So in the smart grid, you can have different type of devices, smart meter, IDs, communication medium. It could be optical fiber or broadband over power line. Similarly, it can be wireless, WiMAX, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, GSM, like that. In the communication medium, different techniques can be adopted. And in the last, the distributed generation can also become a part in the smart grid, where the resources is distributed geographically against different points in the smart grid era. Similarly, if we little bit expand it, the smart meter, it has basically the detail of electric consumption, relay information to central monitoring station, power outage notification and power quality monitoring, and time of day charges can be incorporated into the smart meter for calculating the okay. So in the smart meter concept, if we say the fundamental one is automated meter reading. So whenever a meter reader comes, he should be able to take the reading without touching to the meter. So is a remote reading system based on advanced technology that permits utilities to read electronic meter over short and long distance. Through AMR, the okay. Similarly, the advanced metering infrastructure is there. This advanced metering infrastructure refer to systems that measure, read, and analyze the energy consumption, and even can give feedback to the customer for improving their performance. AMI system can be defined as an extension of the AMR system. AMI always communicate two-way and comprises of metering devices as well. Power management application, communication system, and data management systems are basically included in the advanced metering infrastructure as well. Now, the power account management system, which is the financial one, is expansion of remote metering that includes possibility of performing technical assessment. Okay. Now, because it is smart communication and smart meters are having communication facility, then we can make mobile app sort of thing, and we can now get the information of your house as well as the information login by your mobile to know what is happening at your home. On the other hand, this smart meter which gives this data need to be properly secure. If you do not do this security, then the person who is getting the data may be able to visualize what exactly happening in the house, and correspondingly he may go for some data mismatch as well as data corruption into the system, as well as since your private behavior can be taken into action by the person who is hacking it or who is basically have the access to the data, then your personal life may be jeopardized as well. Therefore, this internet-based thing, whatever is necessary, that much we should only put. Otherwise, we should go for a more and more secure communication system. So some of the features that has been put into the smart meters are basically it has communication, it able to communicate with data management system, which is placed in a server either at the utility or at the system provider level. It can connect and disconnect. A switch is there which connect and disconnect the loads based on the command from the distribution company. The voltage quality and load profile can be measured and recorded. It can measure accurately the consumed energy. The tariff reduced power demand during the peak hours can be implemented. A demand side management can be included. Energy awareness program is installed to keep customers or its energy consumption. There are certain new things coming up in the metering devices. Energy hub, which is nothing but it makes a high-end energy dashboard that offer Google Doc style spreadsheet and graph for resource usage. So this is basically a high-level software sort of thing for giving the distribution companies a benefit. And obviously, with the help of the funding, this can be done. So finance is most important. Similarly, Tandri is another company which provides a combo of energy management services, including wireless in-home energy display, a smart web-based energy portal, small outlets, and cell phone application that helps homeowner to diagnose and cut energy consumption. Similarly, another is your Onjo. It is a basically sleek looking energy display and wireless sensor kit that runs on energy harvested from the home electric cable. Similarly, there are other players in the market of smart metering devices, which produces different application nodes on the data that is being obtaining from the smart meter. Now here you can see that a high level communication system is basically provided here to go for end-to-end smart grid communication model, where the local area network, then your overall wide area network, then your transmission, distribution, and customers all are linked with communication and computer to go to higher level and so this is a high level representation of smart grid communication where different protocols are being used to go for the communication layer network management. The smart network layout, if you see, it has implication with respect to SCADA, then relay setting tool, network information system, distribution management system, meter reading systems, and many things are being connected here to go for a better and more reliable power system as a whole. The smart grid now enables a consumer to become a prosumer. That means it can produce as well as. Similarly, virtual synchronous generator are coming into picture where they can have artificial inertia added to the converter control and advanced distribution management system, ADMS. It coordinates the distributed management system and the microgrid energy management system to use the microgrid as an option in the distribution network. These are some of the smart grid activities that is going on at R&D level as well as the implementation level by different entities in India. Thank you for giving me a patience hearing by giving your precious time for this smart grid and renewable energy discussion point. Thanks a lot. Any query? We can have some discussion.
Thank you so much, sir. So I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, and I noticed that distribution generators are always associated with reverse power flow. So from your experience, sir, how do we control the effect of reverse power flow on the grid, sir?
Very nice. So unless otherwise we change the infrastructure, it is very difficult to handle this reverse power flow. Therefore, in some of the locations, they put a artificial barrier that you cannot go beyond 30 to 40% of the distribution transformer capacity so that reverse power flow is never seen. And this is basically an artificial thing, what we put. Otherwise, if you want the reverse power flow to happen, then you should equip your protection system so that it can handle the reverse power. Am I clear?
Yes, 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 sir. Thank you so much, sir. And we would like you to have your email address, sir. Well, if we can be able to get in touch later, if there is any form of research on and clarification on any technical information.
Yeah, you can, the coordinator will give you the email address and those things. Better you give me a WhatsApp, it will be better.
Okay, okay, sir. You can help us to do that on the chat, sir.
Yeah. You are speaking from which country?
I'm speaking from Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay, okay. So you chat me through WhatsApp, we can have discussion. Okay.
Okay, you can help me to drop your number at the chat, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Any other question?
May I go through?
Yes, please.
All right, great. So thanks for your presentation, pretty lovely and insightful. But allow me to take you back to the question that was asked about the cost of transition from conventional to smart. You did explain about the different parameters and components that would determine the cost, but allow me to press you a little bit further to give us an insight on a basic unit. A basic unit transition from conventional to smart, using conversion as a base. What would be the percentage percentage fund or percentage amount in terms of a percent that could be topped up on conventional to achieve a basic smart?
Very nice.
Based on your experience, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So see, when we talk about smart grid, what smartness we want to do, that is the first question to be answered. And as I have already told at the beginning, it differs from country to country. Specifically talking, if you first let us go for automatic meter reading, AMR. So all the meters should be remotely operatable as well as remotely seen by the distribution company, so that we may be able to take the data in the first go. So our theft and the power cheating that is going on, so to say, I will say, will be reduced. So that is the first thing that can be done. Once we did that, then maybe we can look for the loss reduction in the distribution system as well as transmission system. In the Indian context, I can say the distribution system is having loss problem, but transmission is more or less okay. So we can handle that and address that from the basic point of view by making my meter properly readable. And once the financial aspect is adjusted, then we can go for the technical thing, like we can go for putting some VAR compensator, we can go for putting some STATCOM, or even we can go for the solar inverter that can act as STATCOM to go for the voltage control and hence the loss reduction. Now, next level you can think about that the renewable energy. penetration into the distribution system. But on the contrary, I can also say that this meter and the renewable energy integration can go hand by hand, can go simultaneously. It depends on the policy making and how we go for the implementation aspect. And based on that, the total expenditure will be decided, and the exchequer need to be mentally prepared, as well as a market philosophy and the proper profit, so to say, I will say, can be obtained by converting the conventional grid to the smart grid. Am I clear?
Yes, that's a bit more insightful, especially that you mentioned about the meters at the stage.
See, I can
so forth.
see, for example, suppose in the Indian context, even if we are looking for simple meter, then it is 1.4 billion population, and you can imagine how much smart meter we need. So that itself is a big challenge. So therefore, it depends on which country, which geographical area you are going to handle. That will define the cost of expenditure. So defining the cost, how much will be taken, is not a yardstick and a parameter at the beginning level.
No, thanks very much.
So there is one more question in the chat box.
Yeah.
How we can optimize potential location of renewable sources from the grid, like to minimize cost of distribution?
This is a very interesting question. First of all, the location, I do not know whether it is within your hand or not. Suppose if I want to put a solar panel of maybe 10 kilowatt at a location which do not have a rooftop or neither have a land, you may not choose that location. Therefore, in case of your distribution system, this location is more or less pre-decided. You cannot play around the location in general. There could be some places where you can play. Therefore, the choice of putting panels or the renewable energy or the distributed generation resources at different locations may be an impractical scenario. To some extent, you can play around, but not in a big way. Now, if the question is, if we can play around, then what should be our parameter or optimization to play around? Maybe one of the optimization could be your loss reduction. Maybe another optimization could be the voltage maintenance. Maybe your optimization could be the LMP. So there could be many optimization criteria which can be put, and many literature says different optimization criteria. Therefore, taking those into account, you can go for this installation in the solar photovoltaic systems. Am I clear?
Yeah, you are clear, sir. Thank you very much.
Any other question?
No, sir.
Good. So if there is no question, can we close this session?
Yes, sir. Thank you for a very informative and insightful talk. We truly appreciate your time and effort for the renewable energy and integration and smart grid lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dear participants, we will be resuming the post-noon session after 1 hour, 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hello. Sorry, sir, please. The prof promised to drop his WhatsApp contact or email that we can get it from you.
Can you repeat? What? WhatsApp number?
Yes, no, or email address of the prof. He said we can get it from
Okay,
from
okay.
you.
Okay, I am writing it on the chat box. Okay.
You
Okay.
give the WhatsApp number, it is better. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Ah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.